Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. And by 5x5, Fire Eagle. Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks, Carol. I don't know what happened, you guys. Daniel. I'm going to play the one TikTok lady. She has 3 new ones out. So we'll play those while we get everybody in here before we get to other big videos. Got 3 new ones here.
World War III and make America a global joke. Well, just like always, the exact opposite is happening. President Trump is shattering the left storyline in real time. See, the Democrats' lifeline to winning elections is pretty much fear, chaos, and division, and that is evaporating right before their eyes. In fact, this video might be the biggest blow yet to what little credibility they have left, because we have a president who ends wars, all while the media ends the mic on Vice President J.D. Vance the second he drops a truth bomb on ABC.
Okay.
We'll get to that a little later in the show. As always, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Well, history was made today. Remember this guy, former McDonald's worker? Okay, maybe it was just for a day, but it was longer than Kamala Harris. And he just brokered peace in the Middle East. Yeah, the guy who once asked, would you like some fries with that? Just served up something a whole lot bigger: world peace and the release of the final hostages held by Hamas. 47 delivers again, another masterclass in the art of the deal.
After 2 harrowing years in darkness and captivity, 20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious. 28 more precious loved ones are coming home at last, to rest in this sacred soil for all of time. And after so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace.
In Israel, the gratitude is pouring out. The people there crafted this stunning sand sculpture in Tel Aviv, the president's iconic silhouette carved into the tribute. And then on the ground, raw emotion. This family just learned their loved one is safe, back in IDF custody and on their way home to Israel. Crowds, they were seen lining the streets to welcome the hostages home. This man you see on your screen, he's frail, and he was starving in Hamas. In fact, video back in August showed him looking frail even then. And he was taken straight to the hospital for care. But tonight, he is a free man. Then there's hostage Bar Cooperstein, returned home to the surprise of a lifetime. His father, once paralyzed and nonverbal, spent 2 years learning to walk and speak again just so he could hug his son and say, I miss you.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. בשמחה. חיים שלי. חיים שלי.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם.
The final video you just watched, his family didn't even know whether he was alive or not until just this past February. You can just feel the release of bottled up emotion from all of them. And you certainly don't have to understand Hebrew to be moved by the words of these parents. Now, while families were being united, President Trump was busy signing a historic peace deal. Take a look.
This took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up too.
With one stroke of the pen, President Trump reshaped history once again. And he's not done yet. The next phase consists of getting aid into Gaza.
War in Gaza is over. Humanitarian aid is now pouring in, including hundreds of truckloads of food, medical equipment, and other supplies, much of it paid for by people in this room. Civilians are returning to their homes. The hostages are reuniting. I mean, it's, I'm just watching it backstage. The level of love and sorrow, I've never seen anything like it.
It's one of those days we're all going to remember exactly where we were when history hit play. And in true Trump style, he didn't just make peace, he made it picture perfect. Every world leader gathered in Egypt for the photo op. And of course, Trump's the one telling them, smile, folks, we just made the biggest deal in 3,000 years.
Just made a big deal today, so we'll smile. The biggest effort, right? Come back and get things.
Of course, no Trump moment is complete without a little dominance display. So did you catch the 20-second handshake with French President Emmanuel Macron? Trump handled him like, well, I don't know, similar to Emmanuel's wife handles him, like a boss.
Now, there is a bro shake. If ever I've slipped, we won't let go. Okay, you let go. No, I'm going to let go. All right.
The message was clear. America is back in charge. And think about it. This is the same man the Democrats swore would divide the world, would make our allies laugh at us and destroy diplomacy. Well, it turns out they were the punchline. These are the same Democrats who botched the Afghanistan withdrawal and got 13 American heroes killed. They are the ones who froze while Hamas unleashed terror. The ones whose leader fell upstairs, down stages, and asleep at summits. Sometimes all in the same week. President Trump.
Okay, I got two more. And Kay, I got a three-part news from Texas with the governor.
That is flying right under the radar. Pro-Palestinian activists, they have taken over the streets of New York City now, riding a wave of momentum with almost no pushback. See, the energy at these rallies, it's intensifying. The rhetoric is escalating, and the open hostility toward this country is impossible to ignore. Just days ago, on the anniversary of the tragic October attacks in Israel, organizers at a major rally made some very disturbing statements about what comes next. This footage, it's chilling. It exposes their priorities in a way that is hard to look away from. I mean, they are laser focused on one cause, and it is not standing with the United States of America. As always, hit that like button, share this with friends, and subscribe for more updates on what's really happening. Now, before we get to that clip, just look at the massive crowds that are flooding Times Square on that somber anniversary. It looks less like a visual and more like a celebration. To anyone assuming that these tensions are starting to de-escalate, you might want to think again, because these activist networks, they're now deeply embedded in our universities, our local governments, and our cultural institutions. I mean, the conversation used to be centered around the Middle East, but now that conversation has moved into our cities. Wait until you hear this deeply disturbing message that these folks have for the American people and Israelis. Watch this.
So our work is not done. We must show up. Stronger than we did the first October 7th. Louder than we did the first October 7th. Make it clear that we are not going anywhere. We will keep fighting until Palestine is free. From the river to the sea.
Those words should send chills down everybody's spine. I mean, these rallies are becoming louder and more aggressive in tone and clearly overlooking the safety and well-being of the Jewish community. Jewish Americans are cherished members of our society. And if someone's primary loyalty lies with another country's agenda over America's shared values, well, then maybe it's time to reflect on where home truly is. The residents in Staten Island, they're standing firm. They're voicing strong opposition to Zohran Mamdani's position regarding the Jewish community. In fact, they just ran him out of this restaurant. Watch this.
He's the communist. Sorry, I want something to eat. I would like something to eat. Let me tell you something, man. You are not welcome to this island. October 7th, you hater. You Jew hater. Hey, Mr. Mandandy, can I talk to you? This is my island. You're not welcome here.
Not exactly the welcoming he had been hoping for. Diversity in faith, appearance, and value, I mean, that's what makes America strong. But joining movements that promote harm to any religious group or undermine our core American principles to basically advance a foreign ideology, that's where we draw the line. And on that note, take a look at the daily routine in Dearborn, Michigan. This is happening right now in the heart of the United States.
We're in Dearborn. This is the call of prayer that goes off 5 times a day here in the United States. Would you like to hear this blasting through your neighborhood?
Imagine that call to prayer just resonating through every community 5 times a day, right in the heart of America. Does that align with our longstanding traditions and collective values that have shaped our neighborhoods for generations? I mean, we're witnessing a troubling shift, right? We're seeing monuments honoring our founding fathers that are being dismantled, our history being reframed to suit alternative viewpoints, and growing demands that we adapt to external beliefs and ways of life. I'm pretty sure when you come to a country, it's supposed to be the other way around. While the world celebrates
Okay, we got 2 of hers in. Go ahead and see if Casey, this 3-part. And people that live in Texas.
Base is now closed for 10 days. The FAA is halting all flights to and from El Paso International, citing, quote, special security reasons. It's a move that even shocked flight crews when they heard.
So El Paso is going to be shut down to air traffic for security.
Wednesday morning, El Paso. Sandra Reyes was already running late. She hauled 2 carry-on bags to the curbside drop-off at El Paso International Airport. Flight to Dallas, 7:15 a.m. She'd booked it 3 weeks ago for a job interview she couldn't reschedule. The departures board said canceled. She walked to the counter. The agent looked exhausted. Been there since midnight. All flights are grounded, ma'am. FAA closure. Entire airspace. We don't know when it lifts. Sandra didn't know what that meant. Nobody at the airport did. Airport staff found out the same way passengers did. From a notice that appeared at 11:30 p.m. with no warning, no explanation, no phone call from Washington. The notice said all airspace above El Paso was now national defense airspace. 0 flights below 18,000 feet for 10 days. And at the bottom, language that hadn't appeared in an American airspace closure since September 11th, 2001. The U.S. government may use deadly force against any aircraft deemed a security threat. El Paso Mayor Renard Johnson found out after midnight from a reporter, not the
You want me to
FAA.
stop?
Congresswoman Veronica
This one,
Escobar
you guys?
found out from a federal employee who texted
Anybody
her
else
privately,
want to
not
hear
from
this?
the FAA, not from the White House. And Governor Greg Abbott, he was in Houston doing campaign events, and for the next 12 hours, he said absolutely nothing. Sandra missed her interview. 14 flights were canceled. 1,800 passengers stranded. The city of 700,000 people was shut down at midnight with no warning. And by the time the FAA lifted the closure 8 hours later, a very different story was emerging about what actually caused it. It wasn't cartel drones. It was a party balloon and a Pentagon laser and a fight between 2 federal agencies that nobody told El Paso about. This is the story of how El Paso's airspace was shut down without warning, how the government lied about why, and why Abbott stayed silent while his 6th largest city went into chaos. What the White House said happened? At 8 a.m. Wednesday, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy posted on X. The FAA and DOW acted swiftly to address a cartel drone incursion. The threat has been neutralized, and there is no danger to commercial travel in the region. The restrictions have been lifted, and normal flights are resuming. DOW, Department of War, the Trump administration's new name for the Pentagon. The explanation was simple. Mexican cartel drones crossed into U.S. airspace. The military took action to disable them. The threat was eliminated. El Paso was safe, clean, decisive, easy to understand, except nobody in El Paso believed it. And members of Congress weren't buying it either. Congresswoman Escobar stood at a press conference Wednesday morning. The statement by the administration that this shutdown was linked to a Mexican cartel drone that came into U.S. airspace. That is not my understanding. That is not what we in Congress have been told. She added, the information coming from the administration does not add up. Mayor Johnson wasn't done either. This was a major and unnecessary disruption.
Breaking.
I don't know. Should I play the other two? Okay. They're not very long. They're not very long. And then we will get to Trish video. Okay, then I'll go ahead and get going on the other videos. Let's go with did we play this one?
Are the grifters out there who mistakenly thought I wasn't coming back. Now, I am back. The Podfather is back, and I'm here to take back this movement. This movement's been hijacked by a small group of dipshits and bums and losers who were nothing but doomers under the frame of accountability.
Now, I didn't watch your show, but I did catch the clips on X, as always, and you didn't address anything that the people wanted, and you know it, and I know it, and everybody knows it. Specifically, everything that's happened over the last 48 hours. You wanted accountability, but you were in a position to hold people accountable, and you didn't do it. You want to accuse us of not doing anything but sitting around eating popcorn as if we didn't lose hundreds of accounts, as if we weren't censored for 4 fucking years under this, as if we weren't demonetized and lost out on financial gain from any of this because of big tech. Big tech, who you also didn't hold responsible. They're eating babies, Dan Bongino. But you knew that, didn't you? because you saw the documents. They've been doing it for years and you did nothing. And now you're coming back here and you're going to yell at all of us because we hijacked your movement. We never wanted your movement. We didn't leave the movement and hijack it. Okay. You all left us. You talked about a little bit later in this interview that you had information, but you could not share it because it was under investigation, but you owed it to the American people who paid your salary. And you admitted that we paid your salary, that you weren't going to disrupt those investigations. There are no investigations. There are none. You know it. I know it. We all know it. But here's the thing is, I'm not even super fired up. This is kind of par for the core for what a lot of us had expected you to come out and try to do. And when I say try, I mean try. Okay, because this has to be massively hard for you. Or maybe it's not, and you're just that big of a narcissist. It would be hard for any of us who are doing things for the right reasons, who have always tried to do things for the right reason. You called yourself the Podfather? As that? I actually feel kind of bad for you because I may not be worth $150 million. Okay, I may not be worth $150 million, but I have my integrity, which I hold dear to anything that anybody could ever give me. And you don't. They own you. And that solidified for me when you brought Donald Trump on as your guest. You don't have any control over what you say, what you do,
I
what kind of show
agree
you're going
with
to put
her.
together.
What do
You
you
have
guys
no
think?
creative control.
He's
You are
right.
going to say what they want you to say. And you're not stupid. You know this all has been going on. You know for a fact that arrests need to come, that accountability needs to, but you didn't do it. Instead, you attack us as if that's some kind of flex, first of all. And secondly, nobody believes in voting anymore. If you lose midterms, it's your fault. I'm never voting again. Do you hear? That's not going to happen. After everything. Now, a lot of us have been in this since 2020. A lot of us knew of all of this since 2020. Okay, so to have it come back up and to see the left kind of get on board and to see everybody else from the right start to get on board, we're not a small group of people anymore. And there's more and more joining our side every single day. Every time the Republicans drop the ball or don't hold people accountable or gaslight people, which is exactly what you did in this segment, every time that happens, more and more people leave your movement. And you can blame us and you can be mad and you can rage and you can say all the good talking points, but nobody's buying it anymore. These people, they don't worship the same God that we do. So when they get up there with their little awards or their fancy new legislation and they thank God that they got it and thank God that I got this, just know that it's not the God that you think it is. They worship demons. And anybody that is still pushing this left or right paradigm, okay, is on their side. The people are awake, Dan, and you don't get to sit with us. And that sucks for you because it's pretty incredible. It's not $150 million incredible, okay? But it's still pretty incredible.
For people.
So she was spot on that. And I think that we should not have no elections until this is done. Why are they talking about midterms? So does it mean that the movie is not going to end? Sounds like the movie's going to last longer. But we should not have midterms.
When my Bosch fridge keeps my food fresh longer with VitaFresh, I feel like Guy.
You've had Kristi Noem getting replaced by Tom Homan, and Tom Homan, Tom coming out, setting the record straight, as he should, on the good things that ICE has been able to do, even in the face of all these protests, et cetera. This is really important. You know, they accomplished a lot, even just getting a lot of kids back to their rightful parents or families or tracked down, period, because you think about all the missing people in this country, including these kids that had come over the border. I want to go to Homan on this as he set the record straight.
In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because of the leadership of President Trump, these children were located.
Silver, sir, welcome.
Which was important and good. And you know, to sit there and say that somehow these kids didn't deserve to find their right homes. I mean, that's pretty messed up. But, you know, you have kids that were lost in this country, and you have ICE doing what it needs to do. We were in a situation where you couldn't get any cooperation, right? Let's be very, very clear, from local law enforcement, because they had been instructed not to do so. But we're now in an environment where I think a lot of people are coming to the realization that, hey, you know, ICE is trying to do some good stuff. And this is what Tom was explaining today. Let's go back to him for a moment.
Something about the various unfounded complaints I'm hearing about ICE enforcement operations. During the surge operation, ICE has not arrested anybody inside a hospital. We have not arrested anybody inside of a school, an elementary school. We have not arrested anybody inside a church. As a matter of fact, the only ones that disrespected the sanctuary of a church were the agitators that have been arrested and prosecuted. And so far, we have 9 of them. However, those locations are not off the table. I said from day one, there's no sanctuary for a significant public safety threat or national security threat. But as far as those stories about ICE going into churches, arresting people in hospitals, it's simply a...
Yeah. So ICE didn't do those things. I mean, we had other groups going into churches. Don Lemon's group going into churches. That wasn't ICE. But he also said something important. He said, look, we're not taking that off the table. If it comes to it, if we have to go in, we will. But the idea is you ought to be able to get the bad guys out. Like, this should not be a partisan thing. Again, he reiterated this, and I want to go back to Homan.
Partisan issue that you arrest public safety threats in the safety and security of a jail. Releasing public safety threats back in the public is just stupid. And I've been arguing this for years. And I hope Congress takes action on sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. It makes sense. If you think about it, even the argument I hear, well, victims and witnesses of crime that are in the country illegally want to feel safe to come to law enforcement and to report those crimes without fearing that this law enforcement agency is working with ICE. That's a bunch of crap. Because victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy released to the neighborhood either. It's ridiculous. We want access to the person that you chose, the local jurisdiction chose, to lock in a jail cell. And we have that cooperation here now. It's the right thing to do, and it makes this community safer. This community is safer because we arrested 4,000 illegal aliens in this, over 4,000 illegal aliens here. Many of them public safety threat, not all of them. As I said, we're going to force immigration law, but this community is much safer because of President Trump's leadership and the men and women standing on the stage.
You're waiting to go skating, spinning reels before your turn.
He's so good at this, right? I mean, he's really kind of the voice of calm in this environment and the voice of reason. But let's not forget that when you don't cooperate with ICE, you're actually putting people in harm's way. Ron Johnson very pointed on this earlier today.
I freely admit being in favor of the First Amendment.
And 2 people are dead because you encouraged them to put themselves into harm's way. And now you're exploiting those 2 martyrs. A tragedy was going to happen, and you encouraged it. And you ought to feel damn guilty about it. Smirk. It's sick. It is despicable.
Are you asking me for comment, Senator? Because everything you said was untrue. It was a nice theatrical performance, but it was all lies.
Yeah. So again, I'm just saying, like, we need to actually, I think, be very fair and honest with each other. And back in the day, let's be clear, the Democrats very much wanted strong borders. Now, let's just say, let's go with theoretically, okay, they want all these people coming in because they figure it's votes, and more votes. Fine, but don't you still, at some point, isn't there any part of you that wants to keep your citizen base safe? I really question this. Because if you're willing to import all of these people in, have no idea who's here, yes, you're putting massive economic drain on various communities, but apparently you think you can just solve that with the stroke of a pen and just more money from Uncle Sam to go to who knows what. I mean, think about New York, right? In the hotels where you got daily maid service, not bad, right? Daily maid service and those little cards for your special food because they had to have ethnically appropriate food. Wow. And a cell phone. I mean, hey, come on, come on. You gotta, and they want free healthcare in California. We're not going to pay for it. Everybody else shouldn't have to pay for all the illegals that they're importing into California that they're going to offer free healthcare for, because you know what they want to do? They want to get more electoral college votes and they want to get more representatives in Congress. So that's what that's all about. But think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing to your society and the endangerment that you're putting your society in. It just doesn't even make any kind of logical sense. And then when you do things like we've seen them there with, they have all this money funding this, right? Because of course China wants all this going on. And of course China wants to see us coming apart at the seams, attacking each other. They want these ICE issues to be bubbling up. And they saw ground zero there in Minneapolis. You got to say to yourself, like, what is the right thing for our country in the here and now? And it's not that. It's definitely not that. Anyway, it is good to have all of you guys here. Forgive the camera issues. We're on the road, so it's a little trickier than normal. But I wanted to at least touch base with you. And we'll be here on the show again tomorrow because these are some important considerations, I think, at this moment in time. The other thing I do want to give a quick shout out for our friends over at Balance in Asia, another one of our great sponsors here on the Trish Regan Show, 50% off the whole health system. Even existing customers can get that 50% off. I think it's $79.95 or $75.99 for the whole health system for life. You get something like 37 different fruits and vegetables. I don't have the exact number right.
Okay, that was talking about our sponsors there at the end of the show. We covered most of it. I got 2 clip parts here.
The strongly worded letters and never-ending investigations. So in this video, we're going to be infiltrating Ilhan Omar's sketchy consulting headquarters that claims that they have $60 billion in assets under their management, yet they are located out of a co-working place called WeWork. This company is called Rose Lake Capital, and it is co-owned by Ilhan Omar's husband, Timothy Minette. And similar to the winery, in 2023, it made up to $51,000, and it had a sudden and very suspicious increase in net worth up to $30 million in 2024.
Are you trying to meet with them, or what is
Yeah. So in this video, we're going to see if they have an office. We're going to look for any signs to see if they're actually operating out of here, because this is their only dedicated address. This is the only address that is connected to this multi-tens of millions dollars worth of investment firm. Alex? Is there an Alex?
It took visiting this place to realize that Tim Minette also had E Street Group registered at this WeWork place. And by the end of this video, you will find out how they made $3 million. Spoiler alert, it was super illegal.
All right, guys, we are in and one step closer to uncovering this $30 million mystery. I went up to the little tablet and I started to search their directory, and nothing came up for Rose Lake Capital, nor for Tim or his business partner, Will Haler. And even if those people weren't on there, it is very strange that Rose Lake Capital Investments, nothing was showing up for those key terms. So I'm going to try my hardest to look for any clues or signs that an office could be operating here. It is very normal to put your business sign on the door.
I walked by every single office in this building, and everyone has their logos proudly displayed on the wall. I asked around for Rose Lake Capital and people were not familiar with it. I looked at every logo and Rose Lake Capital did not have an office here. That means they are using it exclusively for mailing or just for meeting spaces. Despite being such a large company, you would think that they would have teams and entire infrastructures or even an entire suite on Wall Street. In fact, if Rose Lake Capital wanted to grow, being here would be a great opportunity as it would open them up to so many potential clients. I did find one pretty strange looking office here though.
District of Columbia Democratic Party. Interesting. It's like the only desk that's like a complete and utter mess. Blind Americans in Goldilocks Planet. We already exposed Ilhan Omar's winery for not having a physical location or any way to purchase wines online, despite them having a very high net worth of $5 million. But this right here is, we're in.
So part 2 coming up. And then we got Mel. It's 34 minutes, I think it was. And okay, we got the X2 report too. We'll play. No Bill Levine yet.
$30 million of a company working out of this co-working space. I'm already starting to see a lot of correlations like we did with the winery. For example, Rose Lake Capital has very, very little public information. They're very secretive, despite saying that they want to have a website that gives an accessible experience online for investors and the general public. Yet that is just complete BS, because on their website, they don't have links to anything besides the terms and services and a LinkedIn profile that is no longer active. And when you click on the contact form, that page has also been removed.
It really feels like it's chasing after the wind because you cannot find any information about any clients that they have ever had online. So you would think there'd be something for them at their headquarters. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. This company doesn't even exist anymore. And they changed its name to Rose Lake. And when that company owed $403,000 in back taxes, they also shut it down. Dear Ethics Committee, that is not ethical. Your investigation has been completed.
All right, guys, so we have just arrived at this restaurant, La Vie, which is the one that had the co-owner who sued the other co-owner because he claimed that there was fraud and he was using the money on personal luxuries and political donations.
So it was a lawsuit that was in 2019 against Naeem Maud, who would later become an investor with Tim Manette, who is Ilhan Omar's husband. Online, it says that Mike sued Naeem because he was allegedly taking kickbacks from restaurant vendors and misrepresenting the company's finances, sound familiar, and saying that they didn't have money when they did have a lot of money, sound familiar. But allegedly, all the meanwhile, he was going to expensive restaurants, making political donations, and taking trips abroad. In response to this lawsuit, Naeem claims that it was all defamation. And how could you say these things about me? So I guess that Tim and Will saw this guy and they loved the way that he operates his business and thought that he would be a perfect partner. And then Naeem wired $300,000 to Tim and Will. By the way, this restaurant was a quick 20-minute walk away from Rose Lake Capital's headquarters.
If you guys have ever looked into investments, maybe you invest in the S&P 500, or you've looked at multifamily real estate investments or small startups, you might try to get 10% returns, 15% returns. But for some reason, he thought that a 200% return was going to be possible on his $300,000 investment. And get this, within 18 months. So that leads us back to James Comer's investigation. And he says you reportedly promised a Washington, D.C. area restaurant owner a 200% return on $300,000 investment in E Street Crew within 18 months. Plus, is massive.
Okay, that's the new lady goes around like Nick Shirley does. Does a good job. Okay, we'll go Mel first and then next two report. $35 minutes.
Dun, dun, dun. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. It is Sizzling Sunday, and
here we are. Where are we? We're in Wisconsin, not Chicago, by the way. So I do apologise. For everyone was sort of a little concerned about Chicago. Yeah, it is pretty crazy there, but that's quite okay. So a big happy birthday, of course, if you are celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, or anything to that effect. Of course, happy Valentine's Day for yesterday. If you are celebrating a birthday, I believe there is a very important person out there who actually wrote a book called 90 Miles to Freedom, and it is his birthday today. So happy birthday to the beautiful Jeff. What we're actually going to be talking about today, of course, is the IMF. And why is that so important, ladies and gentlemen? It's because what's happening is that this is that restructure, and we're going to talk a little bit about NATO this afternoon before we get into our Q&A. The IMF has now completed its consolidation, of course, with Australia. Oh, we don't go unnoticed in Australia anymore. This is concluding, of course, that Australia is going to have a soft landing. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Boom, shakalaka. We're all waiting for that plane to come in and land, aren't we? But they're talking about a soft landing. What was very interesting about this particular article is that they were talking about the flexible exchange rate. What does that mean? We're talking about many countries going through a currency reset. And what happens is that certain countries will have what we call a revaluation. Some will have a I've forgotten what a reinstatement, my apologies. And of course, when they talk about flexible exchange rates, they're talking about things such as near, and which are real nominal exchange rates, and near, which is your nominal exchange rates as well. So when they're talking about flexible, means that these currencies are going to be floating in a small portion as they navigate down, of course, to the one-to-one level playing field that we're all waiting for. So everything is coming to a fine end. We are starting to definitely see that. So the rails are actually linking up. There's going to be a very smooth transition. We're not going to see some big hoo-ha, I don't think. I think everything is just lining up exactly how it is meant to line up. Many countries, though, are talking about sovereign wealth. We have been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. What happens there is that they're talking about new governments and governance. And what happens there is, of course, for our sovereignty, there has to be a form of peace. And peace has to be that there is not going to be so many political parties. And we're starting to see that in countries such as Iraq. And you will see it here, of course, in the United States, where we see the segregation of the Democrats and the Republicans will actually go away. Won't that be fun? It is going to be for the people. The people will be nominated. We talked about the SAVE Act the other day, where you will nominate people based on their experiences rather than the political parties. And we saw during this whole COVID thing, we've been talking about it a lot overnight and this morning, about the segregation between Democrats and Republicans. And that was all a part of our Great Awakening. So excited times ahead to see how that the actual political side of things will actually disappear, and we're going to base it on the actual what people are actually going to be doing for us, the people. It's you, the people, that make the difference, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about payments and settlements, and that as well. The settlement payments are flowing between countries. I will touch on a little bit about Europe. I just had some information that came through Europe and liquidity, so we'll mention that in a short moment. The mechanics and, of course, the mechanisms are in place. They are completely ready in most countries, and that's why we're talking about the IMF, and they're consolidating this Article 4 in the 2026 revaluation is about to occur. So keep an eye on all of that. The infrastructures are being put into place for, of course, the retail system, as I keep reminding everyone. The wholesale restructuring, which is your governments, is completed, and we're now seeing this retail conglomerate coming into play, where we see the exchange rate for those of us who are holding currencies. So keep an eye out on that. Israel, of course, they have now, we've got so much going on in the news, but we didn't hear about Israel has now joined the Board of Peace. What's happening there? That's very, very exciting. This, of course, is a ceasefire of Gaza Strip. We're stripping Gaza. Isn't that what DJT was actually indicating? But he's restructuring the Gaza Strip, stripping the Gaza, stripping away all of that negative things. It's not just so much about a ceasefire, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing, of course, in Israel, as well as many other banks as well, they are pushing for these regulators to complete, of course, the Clarity Act. Keep an eye out on that one. That is very, very pivotal for the regulations. The Genius Act, of course, as a reminder, is your infrastructure of these compliances. So it started with the Genius Act. We're waiting for the Clarity Act. And this is where it all starts to come together. So keep an eye out on Israel. Israel is last, ladies and gentlemen. They are pushing through they're much faster than what I expected, to be quite honest. Let's go to NATO, because we did mention that at the beginning of the show. We have our illustrious Marco Rubio? Yes. He was actually over in somewhere. Where was he? He was actually in, where was it? Munich. The most corrupt country in Europe, in Germany. And he's over there and he's talking about NATO 3.0. No, NATO no longer fits its purpose. DJT has been saying that for quite some time. This is the strategic reset, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So when they're talking about NATO 3.0, we're not just talking about the actors in this as well. This is, like I said, United Nations will be flipped to be nations uniting. It's the same with the World Economic Forum. It's restructured to your international forum. NATO 3.0, let's get into it. We actually saw some interesting articles coming out of Iraq regarding they are now part of NATO, and NATO is extremely happy with Iraq. So what happens there is this is a very big strategy. This signals the shift in partnerships, okay? So that also tells us that Iraq is definitely ready, so we don't have to worry about the theatre that Iraq is holding the show up and this, that, and all the rest of it. This is the modernisation, the restructuring, the solution that we have all been waiting for to redistribute those funds from NATO. DJT talked about this, about funding NATO. These funds are now being redistributed. Hence, this is also how these countries, such as Iraq, who are utilising those funds to rebuild their country and to rebuild their financial system. What's also important as well is the recalibration of a new era. We are seeing that across the board. This alignment is to do, of course, with the defence spending, and we spoke about the defence, and the Department of Defence was changed to the Department of War, or the War Office. This is no longer a Cold War, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new era. So when you understand and change the formalities of what you're hearing in the actual mainstream media, this, of course, is your new era. The UK government, boom shakalaka, ladies and gentlemen, they come on the blockchain. So the UK government, finally, after all this time, they have come up and they're using, of course, HSBC. How interesting is that? We do know that the restructure or the revaluation exchange process has been incurred with HSBC. The UK government is tokenizing their bonds digitally now on the blockchain. And that's, of course, the XRP ledger, ladies and gentlemen. This transparency, of course, is operating them with the level of corruption to a secondary market. And that market, as I said, is moving into blockchain. So the UK, you can rest assured now that your government can no longer manipulate on the market, although they will throw that theatre out there, ladies and gentlemen, they are now tokenized on the HSBC blockchain. So that's very, very exciting for all of you folks over there in the UK. This is, as I said, the multipolar transition, ladies and gentlemen. Liquidity is happening in Europe. As I said, there is peace talks being done in Bulgaria, Syria, Venezuela, Iran and Indonesia as we speak today. And ladies and gentlemen, that also changes your exchange rate. So looking forward to seeing what else comes out of Europe overnight. We'll keep an eye on the markets in Europe as they open again later on this evening in my time. So whichever time zone I'm actually in, ladies and gentlemen. But ladies and gentlemen, it is now over to you, the people who would like to ask a question. I did miss one or two that did pop up there before. And there's a beautiful clock behind me. I just noticed that. But TikTok, it is all over to you, ladies and gentlemen. So far away, any questions that you would like to ask Mel while you are here? Who is game enough to come up? Yes, fairly airy. Oh, you're from Australia, I believe, Fairly. Welcome, honey. How are you? And at D, who is at D?
22 minutes.
Who is at D? Fairly, would you like to unmute yourself, honey, and come on down? At D, I've unmuted you as well. Come on down. Fairly, how are you? No, she's Fairly says God wins, and God does win with all of this, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
yes, at D, how are you?
hey, darling, finally. You've been trying forever. Love you, love your stuff.
It's your lucky day.
You mentioned a little while ago, you said about the lobster wallet, but didn't actually drop much about it. I was wondering what you might be able to tell us.
About the lobster wallet, what would you like to know?
You said maybe there might be something nefarious about it, or...
Oh, there's nothing nefarious about the lobster wallet. Now, what I was actually referring to is that quite often when we talk about, especially those who have been in this journey for quite some time, would often remember or refer to the lobster wallet as a scam. And what's happened is over the time is that it's not so much the wallet itself. It was how we operated, or their lack of knowledge of how to operate the lobster wallet. Now, what happens there is everyone, of course, then went down the rabbit hole and said, oh, this is all about whiplash. This is all about QSI and rah, rah, rah.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. However, what's happened is, and there's been a couple of things that I have done in the background for those who follow the lobster wallet. So here's my take on it. It's got nothing to do with the wallet itself. I believe that the lobster wallet was there as a tool to educate us. Was it part of the whole white hats operation? I'm giving you a different perspective, okay?
Yep.
So what happened there is that it was up to us to use our discernment. And although that was very, very confusing, during that time, it allowed me to concede to say, well, we need to have a look at this in a lot more detail. And people were saying, well, we lost all of our XRP in our lobster wallet. Was that actually to do with the fact that perhaps those cold wallets that suddenly appeared, it's not to say that those cold wallets were, I don't know, created by scammers themselves to be able to scam it as you were transferring from one cold wallet to your lobster wallet. I don't honestly think that people truly understand that the lobster wallet has a vault.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it has its own vault. That is interesting, isn't it?
I know they had a bunch of different XRPs, and some were definitely scams. Like my group itself had made a few bad decisions, but we made the right decisions as well and got the right stuff. and I haven't had any problems with the right stuff. So
there you go, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I'm saying. But to help secure yourself, though, there is what they call a lobster vault, and this vault gives you another level of security. And you don't probably technically need an actual cold wallet because the vault is locked. And here's another fun fact for you, Dee. I remember a gentleman by the name of Nick Fleming that many, many years ago. If you've been around for quite some time, Nick Fleming actually spoke about just before he supposedly had passed, although he seems to have appeared again. So who knows, right? But he did mention on one of his very last posts about maybe you might all be getting a lobster wallet.
yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
Well, the lobster vault, could it possibly be, not saying it is, but could it possibly be your quantum account?
I wouldn't be surprised.
You lock it in a vault. It doesn't make any money. It's secure. And the only person that can unlock your vault is you.
It is supposed to be Stellar on the Stellar blockchain.
Stellar is for the people, Dee. Understand that.
I think that's what it is. It's Stellar blockchain. So, yeah.
And you can't deny that. But again, what happened was, Dee, a lot of emotions got involved, and they're going to blame possibly one of 60 different whiplashes. And let me remind people, though, give credit where credit is due. I'm not saying it's good or bad or indifferent, but let me remind people that if it wasn't for Whiplash, we wouldn't be where we are today for some of us, because he certainly opened the door for us to unlock to become the Great Awakened.
Yeah,
Just
him
to
and
remind
QSI that version of him was quite interesting in the early days, but yeah.
Exactly. Does it happen anymore? No.
No. So it's probably a different person.
Amen to that, brother. What did I just say?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows
thanks,
who?
Mel. Love you so much. You're awesome.
No worries at all, champion. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Good luck on your travels, darling. No worries,
absolutely. A bit chilled today, but that's okay. We'll get there.
All the best,
and I got
darling.
to see
Bye.
snow for the first time, and I got to see snow for the first time, so that was really, really cool. So
wow. Yeah. Good on you.
I know, right? And squirrels. Yeah, that's why I saw squirrels this morning as well. I was like, oh. And if my eyes saw right, I think I saw a woody woodpecker as well. So that was really funny. But who knows? I mean, I could be delusional as well because the travels I've had. But it is so much fun over here, let me tell you, Dee. But we'll definitely catch up if you're in Australia. We will be home in
Lake Macquarie. Lake Macquarie moving to Gold Coast after this happens.
Really? That's quite interesting. The Gold Coast. I believe Trump Towers is going to be built in the Gold Coast as well.
I've heard that, yeah. Yep.
So that's exciting. So looking forward to coming home to have a humdinger. So
yeah, we'll have a coffee at Trump Tower.
I do have a pen with Trump from the Trump Towers too, by the way. So yes, that gold pen is locked away, safe and secure. So very, very exciting about that. Well, Dee, it is lovely to chat to you, and we'll catch up very, very soon.
Thanks, Mel. Bye, darling.
Cheers, darling. Bye. Fairly early. You have unmuted yourself. How are you?
Oh, hello, Mel. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, fabulous. I am in the jungle. It's the night time. I'm in the middle of the jungle in Bali. Can you believe it? And all I want to do is fix these banks up. So we now have some fraud. We found the fraud, Mel, yesterday. I had a conversation. Had a conversation yesterday about the bank frauds on the mortgage. So hold on to your hats, everybody. We're going forward to take down this fraudulent banking colour of title. They don't have the right to collect on the mortgages, and every time we pay interest on the mortgages, we're perpetrating the fraud. So
Fraud.
can't wait for that.
Certainly.
Help our entire country, Mel. Everybody in Australia who's got a mortgage, I want to help. I want to get this sorted. So that's all I wanted to say.
100%. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, she is one of those Australian battlers who are out there, and so pleased to hear. These people have been, and not just Fairleigh, but there's many people in Australia. We have been working behind the scenes so tirelessly. And to hear that news, congratulations, Fairleigh. She has been a true advocate. Oh my gosh. And actually to have her on here and speak is just such a huge honour. So thank you very much for that.
You've just given me God bumps, Mel. And you know, it's dark here. I'm literally in a jungle, and going to go and see some monkeys today. So that'll be good. Over and out.
Well, say hello to everyone in Indonesia, and as I said, sending my love and prayers for you, girlfriend. And
I can't wait.
It is a jungle out there.
Yeah, the people here in Indonesia, I understand what their government is doing to them, and I really feel for the Indonesians. So I'm hopeful that this RV will turn their lives around as well. Very poor people. It's quite sad.
It is, and that's when reality certainly hits us, ladies and gentlemen, is when you go and experience these places. And it's the same with Laos and many other countries across the world that I've travelled to. It is the community, the people on the ground that are actually suffering. And we talk about this quite often in Africa, and some of the horrific things that these citizens have to go through. So you stay safe, my girlfriend, and we'll certainly catch up.
Thanks, Mel.
When I get home.
Over and out.
All right,
Sounds
darling.
good. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, honey. Over and out. So PDQ, I'd love to know what that is all about. And of course, the beautiful Barbara and Karen S will say hello to all of you when I can get Barbara off and up. And Barbara and the beautiful Karen S. Oh, come on. It is super sensitive today, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Who are we going to have? Actually, I get more from Australia. I was actually saying this last night while we're waiting for someone to come up and say hello. Just unmute yourselves as it comes through. You know, it's quite interesting when I came over to do this journey over in the United States that I actually have more from Australia than what I did when I actually was there. So it's quite ironic. And the beautiful Sonia Spain, I have got your messages too, darling. I will get to you. We'll definitely catch up after the show to the beautiful Sonia Spain as well. So Barbara and Karen S. No, so they're not coming up. That's interesting. Here we go. The beautiful Barbara, how are you?
I'm on using my wife's account at the moment.
Oh, that's okay, darling. You're allowed to, as long as you don't mind me calling you Barbara. Keep your identity safe and sound.
You can call me Sue Evelyn if you like.
Oh, and how are we?
Yes. Can you tell me why England isn't amongst the 7 kingdoms on the map?
Well, is it?
Apparently it isn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So does the UK go back to Ireland?
No. Not that
It
I'm
doesn't?
aware of.
Not that you're aware of. Well, this is where it becomes very interesting, and there's a lot of countries who are talking about Hawaii. It is echoing in the background. You must have me on speaker.
No.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
Not really understanding.
No, that's okay, darling. It's fine. I'll get through this very quickly. It's like Hawaii. Where does Hawaii go? Does it go back to Australasia, or does it stay with the US? We will wait and see. The 7 kingdoms is just a representation, and we have to go back to the empires to actually reveal what the 7 kingdoms actually are. And we're only speculating.
Can I fast forward it, you guys?
But we will wait and see.
Can you hear it all right?
Right, I understand. Okay, Mel. Thank you for your help.
That's okay, darling. If you want to private message me, we can certainly talk about it in depth.
Yeah, if possible.
Yeah, I'll put that up after. I'll put that link up afterwards, and you can possibly link up and we can have a chat about my other speculations on the UK kingdom.
Okay, lovely. Thanks, Mel.
That's okay, darling. And say hello to your beautiful wife, Barbara, as well, for thanking you for letting you allow her to use her Telegram account.
Okay, no problem, love. You look
All right,
after
darling.
yourself.
You absolutely. Thank you, darling. So we have the beautiful Barbara. And just mute yourself again, honey. There we go. I'll mute it from this side. The beautiful L17. I actually had, there you go, fairly early. Look at that moon. Okay. L17, I got to have lunch with her the other day. Indio, I need to say hello to these lovelies because I actually had lunch. Hello, honey. How are you?
I'm good. I was just going to say hello and wanted to say it was a pleasure to meet you and all the lovely ladies that showed up. I don't really have a question other than that seems to me New Zealand and land is moving very slowly. My special person is having very much trouble in getting a property over there. But anyway, long story short, it's a pleasure to hear you.
Oh, honey. And we did have a lovely time in Sarasota, ladies and gentlemen. It was absolutely, it was beautiful. We had a couple of ladies that came together and for 4 hours we entertained each other and what a very special moment in time. And but thank you very, very much, honey.
Yes, this is India. Yes, it truly was. It was such a
Oh,
pleasure
yes, there
meeting
she
you.
is.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you, honey.
Yeah. Are you in Wisconsin?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Oh, cool, cool. Well, you have
It
a wonderful
actually
trip.
warmed
It's
up.
such a pleasure meeting you. Oh, warmed up.
Oh,
Okay.
They've got
56 degrees. So
Oh, that's
that's
warm.
pretty good. Yeah, that is warm. Thank you so much, honey. Another one of those very special ladies that we got to catch up with. Very, very exciting times. It really was. We had one evening session and one daytime session. And of course, and then we went to Jacksonville and had a lovely, lovely coffee shop there with big lounge chairs that we lounged around and had a great, great time, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are in the Wisconsin area and you would like to catch up and meet and greet Mel, please let me know over there and buy me a coffee for $5 USD. Send me an email and we will catch up. So that's all it's going to be. And as I said, this is only whilst I'm in the States. This isn't a grifting type of situation at all. It is just for you to contact me so that I can contact you privately and catch up for a meet and greet. Well, it looks like it's fairly quiet on the home front today, ladies and gentlemen. There's no one else putting their beautiful hand up. So with all of that being said, stay safe, stay savvy, stay happy, 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 ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you all on the flip side. We will be still here in Wisconsin on Wednesday where we get to catch up. What's going to happen on Wednesday? It is going to be a humdinger, ladies and gentlemen. It is. Oh, the beautiful Karen S just popped up. Oh, hold on a second. Karen, quickly, what's your question? No, Karen's unmuted herself. That's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later on Wednesday. Catch you up on the flip side. It is a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night from me. Enjoy it. Enjoy your wait. Oh, unmute. Okay, Karen, quickly, what's your question, honey?
Okay, it's so great to meet you. And I'm in California. I was so wanting to see you when you came through California.
I'm going back to California, so
awesome.
you better. Honey, I'm
my
going back to
question,
California.
real quick, is in regards to the med beds and the humanitarian projects that people have?
Yes.
I am currently, for the last 5 years since pre-COVID, been a caregiver for my mom. And I can't spend a great deal of time researching a lot of stuff out. So I really appreciate all of your work and what you're doing for us. I think that my question is, if we have the funds that will allow us to use humanitarian needs, does it matter which type of currency it is that would do that?
No, it doesn't matter what type of currency you have, darling. If you have the funds, you can do anything you like.
And does it matter how much you have? Like, if you only have one piece, does that matter at all?
Oh.
No. If a person would like to, say, find a place nearby that they would like to put their funds into to have a med bed location, is that something that could be put together at some form?
Yeah, absolutely. They're your funds, honey. You can do whatever you like.
So how do we find out where these med beds are going to be located?
You will find them.
We'll find them. And
You
so
will
in
find them.
finding them, then we could relay our desire to have one nearby.
100%.
Another question is, there are a couple of military bases near me. Are those going to be places that possibly will have the med beds?
Possibly, yes.
Mm-hmm. So is there a way I can get some more information in regards to this?
It will all be released. For once all this revaluation has occurred, they will actually release information as they see fit. So
And I know that, of course, the military and the children and others that are in dire need. What about people like where I'm at with caregiving and the caregivers themselves? Will they be included in any kind of special?
You are all very, very special. And as I said, once you are funded, for instance, I'll give you an example. HSBC, and I've just realized I'm out of battery, so I'm going to be very quick on this one. With HSBC, once you have received your funds, you will actually be given the opportunity and you will be asked if you have would like to have a medical checkup. There's possibilities, as I said, once you're in the know, that you will be able to find these people. It's like everything in life. You will be able to find them. They will just appear with you. It is hard to explain. It is a frequency thing, hun. Once you receive your funds, your frequency lifts. Things just appear. When things are good, they will appear.
Okay. Good.
Okay? So, yeah.
Well, I so much appreciate you.
That's
and all
okay,
that
honey.
you're
I
doing.
appreciate you as well. Yeah. Once I'm in California, call me.
Okay.
I'll be back in California. So, all right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's okay, darling. PDQ, quickly. Go for it.
Yeah, Mel, just wondering about the Epstein connection to Coinbase. And we have friends that have some stuff on Coinbase. Is clawback available if that goes down?
Absolutely, there is. There is a clawback on Coinbase. Coinbase, as I just said about Lobster in the beginning of the Q&A, they also have a vault. There is a separate wallet for Coinbase where it is safe and secure. You don't put it on the Coinbase exchange, you put it in the wallet, and that also acts as a thing. So you will have two apps in Coinbase. One is a wallet and one is the exchange. And yeah, so, and there is a clawback on that as well.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And real quick, Whiplash years ago showed us the Zim. When you see him, thank him for us.
I certainly will. Absolutely. Thank you, PDQ. You are onto it, sunshine. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I definitely have to go. It is flashing red.
Okay. I'm going to do shorts till the 2-hour mark, you guys. So we got 45 minutes I'm going to do. Well, I got some good short ones here. Let's go ahead and get Q's video out.
Favorite flavors. What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q. Well. Have you guys been paying attention to this summit taking place over in Germany, where all the old washed up and irrelevant people are showing up trying to get their moments of fame? You've got people like Hillary Clinton over there. You've got people like AOC over there trying to give us lectures about foreign policy. But I specifically want to focus on the brilliance of Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has finally just admitted that Trump was right about everything. She could have just as easily taken the transcripts from Donald Trump's debate with her, or several debates in 2016, and just read them word for word, and we would have been okay with it. So she first of all went on to talk about how her husband and Barack Obama, that they deported way more people than Donald Trump did, that they deported people left and right, and by the hundreds of thousands that they deported people, but they did it in a humane way, is what she said. Now, listen, for some of you guys who are as old as I am, or for some of you guys that are older than I am, do you guys remember the Cuban child in Florida? When Janet Reno, go look this up, Janet Reno, under the direction of Bill Clinton, sent armed people with guns to go in and rip a child from its parents' arms and ship that child back to Cuba. I know you guys remember. It was everywhere. It was everywhere, and everyone was outraged. Even the right was outraged. This happened under Bill Clinton, and I don't know why no one is talking about what Janet Reno did. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? All they talk about now is, putting kids in cages. The cages? You mean the cells that Barack Obama built? You mean those things? But it wasn't over. She still went on to talk about how the third world migration has gone too far, that we need to talk about how we can humanely stop third world migration because it has been disabling to the West. And it has hurt the United States. It has hurt Europe, and we need to responsibly enforce our borders, because if we do not have borders, then we cannot have a country. What? So I want to know when the mainstream media is going to drag her. I want to know when the mainstream media is going to call her out for being the racist that she is. Because if the truth be told, Hillary Clinton is an old school real racist. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Miss, I keep hot sauce in my purse. You remember that, don't you? Oh, I ain't no ways tied, as she stood in front of the black church. Now, I'm sorry. That's kind of some racist stuff. So talking down to your audience or to your voters, that's okay. Patronizing them, that's okay. But she got a free pass, but she's not getting a free pass on this one, because she's essentially stealing Donald Trump's notes, spewing them like there's something new, and saying, but we're going to do it humanely and no one's going to die. Donald Trump has actually deported more people by simply getting them to self-deport, by telling them, hey, you leave of your own free will. We'll fast track you back here as long as everything goes right. More people have deported that way than actually having to round them up. He's just rounding up the criminals, but they won't tell you that. Comment below. I want to know if you guys remember this Janet Reno thing. I know I'm not nuts, unless this is like some kind of butterfly effect, but I seem to remember this very vividly.
Okay, that's the last one on cue. Okay, the next one, 8 minutes on Antarctica. Another video. I must be played it. About 8 minutes. Remember this one, Flying Eagle?
And fixed borders. But what if that's not strictly true? What if the borders aren't actually finished? Maybe one of the next places Washington wants isn't even American yet. Why does the US already treat Greenland like it owns it? And let's face it, after Venezuela, anything is possible. Take a look at the North Atlantic island. Lightly populated, resource-rich, and quickly becoming central to U.S. missile defense and Arctic strategy. This makes Greenland a modern test case for how America expands, without officially expanding. Greenland is 3 times the size of Texas and has fewer people than a small U.S. town. And it sits directly under the shortest missile path between Russia and America. As of January 2026, it's still a self-governing territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It's had self-rule since 2009, though Denmark handles foreign affairs and defense. In reality, Greenland hosts Pituffik Space Base, the northernmost U.S. military base. For decades, Pituffik has worked as a giant ear, listening for ballistic missiles passing over the pole and keeping a close eye on the Russian Northern Fleet. One reason Pituffik matters so much is that the Arctic isn't as far away as it used to be. In a missile age, distance matters less. The shortest route between Russia and North America isn't across an ocean, it's over the pole. That's why Greenland has always been valuable, even when it looked like nothing but ice and rock. And it's why the base isn't just a leftover Cold War relic. It's one of the few places where radar coverage, satellite tracking, and early warning infrastructure really count. The US doesn't have to own Greenland to use that advantage, but it does have to make sure access can't be disrupted. And that's where the conversation stops being about diplomacy and starts being about permanence. But in the last few years, America has been focused on something else. Climate change is melting the ice, up to 280 billion tons per year in some periods. And as it pulls back, it's exposing something that used to be impossible: shorter shipping routes like the Northwest Passage. If the Arctic becomes passable, the first country to control it won't just move ships faster, it'll decide who gets delayed, who pays more, and who gets cut out entirely. And once a route becomes real, the world starts rebuilding around it. Ports expand, insurance markets adjust, shipping companies plan whole futures around the new timeline. And that changes what control looks like. It's no longer just defending a base. It's managing traffic, enforcing rules, and deciding who gets reliable access. And if this sounds theoretical, it's not. Whoever controls this route doesn't just move ships on a map. They decide who gets rich first. And that's not all either. Greenland isn't valuable because it's big. It's valuable because it contains the kind of minerals the modern US military can't function without. Estimates suggest Greenland holds around 1.5 million metric tons of rare earth elements, the materials that go inside fighter jets, precision-guided weapons, radar systems, and satellites. And that's the problem. If access to rare earths gets restricted, it doesn't just slow down consumer tech, it hits defense production, energy systems, and industrial capacity, the things a country needs in a long crisis. That's why Greenland isn't being treated like a distant territory, it's being treated like a 21st century Louisiana Purchase. It's not about influence, but about deciding who can build, who can arm, and who can last. Greenland's politics make things even more complicated. Denmark isn't the only voice involved here. Greenland has its own government, its own parties, and its own internal debate about its future. Some people want more independence. Some want stability and protection through Denmark. Some want the economic upside of development, but fear what happens when the country becomes reliant on foreign money. That's why this isn't just a question of whether Denmark would ever agree, it's whether Greenland can keep saying no once the strategic logic starts tightening. Because the modern takeover doesn't begin with troops, it begins with contracts, infrastructure, and dependency, until one day, the most important decisions aren't being made locally anymore. That's the quiet form of expansion. The paperwork stays the same, but the reality changes underneath it. The move for Greenland isn't just a real estate deal, it's seen as a must-have for survival. The message to Copenhagen is clear. They have something America wants. It's the same thinking that fueled the Louisiana Purchase, just with more satellites and freezing temperatures. The reaction has been immediate. Denmark has called it a major breach of trust, and European leaders are reassessing what this means for NATO's unity. But in Washington, the calculation is simple. The strategic value is too high, and the cost of stopping it is even higher. Would the US suddenly be willing to risk its friendship with NATO for a remote island in the Arctic Circle? And how did things get to this point? To understand why, you have to look at the speed of American growth. America didn't expand because it knew what it was buying. It expanded because it was afraid of who might buy it first. In the early years, the US wasn't a superpower. It was a thin strip of territory on the Atlantic, and the people running it believed something rather simple. If you leave space empty, someone else fills it, usually a rival empire. That's why the US bought Louisiana in 1803 and Alaska in 1867. Something that looked useless on paper became priceless in function. Resources, position, a defensive line facing the ocean. And this is the part most people miss when they talk about American expansion. It rarely starts as conquest. It starts as security. First comes the justification, then access, then permanent infrastructure, then normalization. Only later does the legal status catch up, sometimes decades later. The country expands in function first, and the paperwork comes second. Which is why a place like Greenland wouldn't have to begin with a dramatic annexation. It would begin with reasonable steps, more access, more investment, and more security cooperation. And once that becomes normal, the last step doesn't feel like an invasion anymore. It feels like a formality. And that's the danger. The map doesn't change all at once, it changes quietly. In the 1800s, the US used the Monroe Doctrine to warn Europe to keep out. In 2026, the modern version doesn't always need declarations. It uses money, military access, and pressure to keep rivals from gaining ground. Because if the US doesn't expand its control, someone else will. But there's a problem. Every time the US grows, it faces a choice. Do you bring the people in, like they did with the 50 states? Or do you treat them like the self-governing Puerto Rico or Guam? For the planners in the military, the Caribbean is the gateway to the Western Hemisphere. And if you look at a map of who actually holds the keys, the Arctic looks like a logical next step, rather than a total surprise. In a strange twist of fate, it seems like whenever the US wants to expand its sea border, it usually ends up writing a check to Denmark. Before the 2026 push for Greenland, there was the 1917 purchase of the US Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, totaling about 133 square miles. At the time, the US didn't want the islands because it needed more beaches. It wanted them because World War I was happening. And Germany, the United States.
Okay, I thought that was an important one. I got a few more I'm going to do, you guys.
Hundreds of miles away. The path is now clear. Now comes the strategic sites like nuclear bunkers, which can be bombed by B-2's Spirit, the tip of the spear. Launching from bases in Jordan and the UAE, squadrons of F-15 E Strike Eagles roar into the theater. These are the bomb trucks of the operation. Each F-15 is heavily laden with GDMs and small diameter bombs. Interestingly, it can carry up to 19 GDAMs or 28 small diameter weapons. While the B-2s hit the deep bunkers, the F-15s hunt for mobile targets. Their ADSA radars scan the ground for ballistic missile launchers hiding in valleys. Working in pairs, they drop precision bombs on missile convoys, hangars, and secondary command nodes. Once they are Winchester, out of ammo or low on fuel, they don't go. They connect to this tanker common launch tube that fits into almost any aircraft's existing fuel hatch. They retreat to those tanker tracks established in Phase 1, taking on thousands of pounds of jet fuel in midair before turning back for a second sortie. 2 hours pass each hour. To sustain the pressure, the U.S. Navy's floating air bases enter the fight. Cruising in the Arabian Sea, a carrier strike group turns into the wind. Steam and electromagnetic catapults begin launching aircraft every 30 seconds. F/A-18 Super Hornets launch carrying anti-radiation missiles. Their job is DAD, destruction of enemy air defenses. They are hunting down any surviving radar operators foolish enough to turn their systems on. Meanwhile, F-35 Sea Lightning push forward to gather intelligence and strike high-threat targets that the older jets cannot reach, managing the massive traffic of hundreds of U.S. jets. By sunrise, the first wave is over. The eyes of the enemy air defense have been blinded by Tomahawks. The heart of the nuclear program has been crushed by B-2s. And the limbs of the missile forces have been severed by F-15 and carrier aircraft. Either way, the mission doesn't end there. Iran's air defenses remain a formidable threat. MiG-29 and aging F-14 may not be cutting edge, but they can still be dangerous if they are lucky enough to intercept a B-2 Spirit. The stealth bombers have virtually no dogfighting capability, and Iranian ground controllers, struggling to cut through the electronic jamming, vector their fighters toward the incoming bombers. But the U.S. military has its own countermeasures. E-18 Growler, flooding Iranian frequencies with static to disrupt communications and targeting systems. Confusion spreads, making it harder for enemy pilots to coordinate. If Iranian fighter jets manage to get close, the F-18s are waiting. Guided by airborne warning and control system aircraft orbiting safely offshore, they engage with long-range missiles, forcing Iranian pilots to either break off or face certain destruction. The B-2s will now be racing westward to avoid Iranian air defense system. Behind them, the sky churns with chaos. SAM sites reactivated in desperation unleash salvos that spiral harmlessly into empty air, duped by decoys. Growlers continue their electronic siege, while reserve F-18s surge forward to reinforce the retreat. Over Iraq, the bombers meet tankers again, gulping fuel as F-22 Raptors join the escort, their sensors scanning for threats the Iranians might yet muster. Let's take a look at how this works. Step 1. The bomb deployment platform. As previously mentioned, a B-2 stealth bomber flies at a very high altitude. When the aircraft reaches the designated location and the conditions are optimal, it releases the weapon. The bomb is designed for precision, and the deployment height plays a crucial role in its trajectory and effectiveness. Then step 2 comes the targeting precision. The bomb is outfitted with advanced guidance technology, including GPS and inertial navigation systems, which are military-grade satellites. Then comes step 3, that is adjusting the trajectory. The guidance information and data is then transmitted to the bomb's 4-lattice motors fins located at the rear. These fins can move and adjust in real time, allowing the bomb to correct its course as it descends under the force of gravity. These adjustments are essential because the weapon does not have thrusters to change its trajectory. Instead, it relies on the movement of these fins and a high-altitude drop to control its flight path. This is why the bomb must be deployed from a very high altitude so it has enough time and distance to adjust its trajectory accurately. Here comes the most difficult part, that is step 4, impact and penetration. The bomb, known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, weighs approximately 30,000 pounds, which is around 14,000 kilograms. When it reaches its target, it strikes with immense force, designed to penetrate deep into hardened structures, such as bunkers. The energy upon impact allows the bomb to bury itself over 200 feet into reinforced concrete, ensuring it delivers its payload precisely where it is intended for maximum effect. Finally, step 5 involves the tricky part of arming the weapon. It was installed with 2 SDB fuses. Double fuses are required as a backup. The first is for G-sensing, and the second is the time delay fuse. Why the redesign was necessary, it was to ensure that the bomb could strike facilities buried beneath significant layers of hardened material. For this reason, the fuses are placed at the rear of the bomb to prevent them from being damaged. Once the time delay or the G-sensing fuse reaches its destination, it can blow up, creating a mini earthquake that can bury bunkers and 20-story buildings. With the air defense network fractured by Tomahawk cruise.
I hope those last 2 were okay. Something different. All right, I'm getting tired. Stay got as long as I can. So tomorrow, another Monday for everybody. Everybody have a good work week, and hopefully we will get something this week. I don't know, another week. Day by day. So God bless everybody. Love all. Remember, please hit the like and sub to go to the description and sub to the backup channel, please. Tim, Carol, Lucy, Kay, and Flying Eagle. Thanks. And we'll see you all tomorrow evening at 6, unless something happens. Stay safe, stay strong, keep your faith. Never give up. Signing off. Chico New, another night of Day of Intel. See you guys tomorrow evening.